What is the difference between a good therapist and a bad therapist? We've all been sitting in session listening to clients and hearing them talk about previous therapists, talk about different therapists they've had through the years, and so often hearing them say things that are rather shocking. One common thing I hear oftentimes is this idea that, oh, my therapist would talk to me about their problems, and they'd actually talk to me more about themselves than they listen to me. And so we're thinking, okay, there's therapists out there that actually use the client as their therapist rather than giving therapy. And then we also hear about the therapists who get really defensive when something's brought up that could be considered, feedback for them, critical feedback. And so we have therapists who get super defensive. And then also, always on the ethics exams we take every couple of years to renew our credentials, we hear about all of the therapists who are developing romantic relationships with clients, having sex with clients. And it's like shocking that there are people in the field who are not growing enough to really be able to contribute in a healthy way to the clients they serve. So my name is Monica Maurer. I am a licensed counselor, and I'm also the director of the Center for Transformation. Our center exists to partner with therapists to help therapists enhance their personal and professional growth. So today's episode is going to be focused on personal growth. What does it mean to grow personally? And what do we need to do to help ourselves grow personally? It is vital that we grow psychologically ourselves as therapists in order to be able to offer something beneficial to the clients that we serve, the clients who we serve. So important that we grow ourselves personally. And a lot of us go into this field because we have our own struggles psychologically, or come from a family background that's complicated and have some developmental trauma, some things we need to work through ourselves. And so we find ourselves in this field maybe having had help from a therapist ourselves, and we think, oh man, I want to be able to give back the way this person has given to me. Or we're interested in growing ourselves, and we think, hey, psychology might be interesting because if I study this, maybe I can heal myself. And sometimes I think some of us get into this field thinking we're going to do some of our personal growth, but we end up just sitting in the chair listening to others, giving them some feedback on how to grow, but we miss out on growing ourselves. We forget. I oftentimes talk about, with the people that I work with my colleagues, we talk about this idea of almost becoming an echo chamber to yourself and your clients. I mean, we have clients coming in, sitting down in our room, listening to us, paying us money to hear what we have to say or how we can help them. And oftentimes there's a power differential where they don't feel maybe a good sense of confidence to be able to give us feedback. And so we're getting critical feedback. So we're getting only positive feedback. We're only hearing from people who aren't going to really give us the feedback we might need to have in order to grow. And the other part of that is when we're talking with clients, we're not supposed to be telling them our side of things, right? In terms of our personal struggles. We're there to help them. So unless we're going to therapy ourselves, which I believe every therapist has a good therapist, and my therapist says, if you have a therapist who doesn't have a therapist, maybe you need to get a new therapist. And so when clients are sitting there, we're not talking to them about our problems. We are listening to them and helping them. And so if we don't have our own therapist, we are not expressing those deeper things inside of ourselves, those psychological wounds and we're not growing maybe at the level we need to. And it is so important for us to be able to grow, to be able to go to the different layers of growing psychologically for multiple reasons. And I'm going to talk about those in this episode. So one reason, I think the first reason, is just this idea that I want to become the best that I can be. I want to be my best, truest self on this earth. I've been contemplating so much, especially in the last couple of years. Why are we here? What are we supposed to be doing? We get to live on this earth max 80, 90 years. Some people live to 100 or a little bit over, but not much more than that. And some of us pass away even earlier than that. It's a very short time that we're actually here on this earth. And it takes us a while to get to a level of conscious awareness to even kind of know why we're here and what we're doing, what we're supposed to be doing. Or that, just to be able to think about what we're thinking about and consider what life is all about. And so, excuse me, by the time we get there, we don't always know, why we're here and what we're supposed to be doing. And so growth, psychological growth, emotional growth, I think takes us to the next level of understanding our purpose, why we're here, what we're supposed to be doing, what we are supposed to be contributing to society. If we get super stuck inside of our own past, our own dysfunction, we can't think outside of ourselves to know what we're supposed to be contributing. And we just stay very stuck and maybe very in our subjective world, our internal world. We're maybe focused on our cravings, our compulsions. We're tired. Our bodies maybe don't work right. And it hinders us from really going to the next level and becoming all that we can be in this world to really help contribute before we leave this earth. So that's huge. I think it's a really big thing to grow for yourself personally, psychologically, in order to become your best and truest self. The second thing I think that's important to discuss is this idea of growing so that you can have the best relationships possible while you're on the earth. We are created for relationships. It is who we are at our core. We are interpersonal beings. We are tribal. We are communal. And when we have trouble psychologically that is not being worked on, not being repaired, not being dealt with, when we are not becoming sanctified and maturing into our best and truest self, our relationships are hindered. We lack the ability to really be intimate and give life to others, to give and receive in mutually satisfying ways. And that hinders our ability to connect, to feel bonded to other humans. And so it's so important for us as therapists to grow so that we can have life-giving relationships that do so much for us. Those life-giving relationships help us to deepen the wells of who we are so that we can offer more to others. If we don't do the work we need to do, we won't be able to offer all that we possibly can to the clients who come in to our chair. And so it's so important that we are cultivating those relationships around us. I know there are therapists who are kind of isolated. They go home and are by themselves a lot, and maybe they're not in a marriage or a serious dating relationship. Maybe they don't have children or extended family that they're around often, and so they may be isolated. and not spending time with friendships and other relationships. And I think that they're really missing out on a key component of what it means to do community. And it may be because there's some things inside of them that cause them to be avoidant and dismissive in relationships. And I don't think that is helpful overall to the big picture of our lives when that kind of thing is happening. Not that everybody needs to be an extrovert. Of course, there are people who are introverted and who recharge by being alone. But relationships are where it's at. And if we don't grow psychologically, we will not be able to maintain and feel encouraged and invigorated by the relationships that we have. And then the third reason it's so important to grow psychologically for us as therapists is because if we don't, our clients will not grow. It is a fact that clients cannot grow beyond the level of health and dominance of the therapist. And so the most dominant brain in any scenario is the one that's going to propagate the skills. And I oftentimes say, this is why I've had to grow a lot, because I would have people who had narcissistic tendencies come into my room and I would feel intimidated. I would feel like I don't know what to say. I don't know how to be. They'll say something and then I fearfully will just kind of pass them out, so to speak, and feel weak and not able to say what I'm really thinking and feeling, and maybe just get all scrambled inside of myself, feeling intimidated and not even really wanting to admit that to myself, but definitely not feeling strong in those moments. And I've been through, especially with the life model, which I'm going to be talking so much about in future episodes, but I've been through a lot of education, curriculum, and now experiential training where I'm learning to be a more dominant mind in scenarios, not allowing my fears to hold me back in relationship with clients. And my mind is becoming a more dominant, gentle protector brain, so that no matter who comes into my office, my brain is the most dominant one in a healthy way and will not be overpowered by the unhealth of those who come into my space. And so this is a huge reason for psychological growth for us as therapists. I mean, what are we doing if we're not the most dominant brain in the room? It doesn't have as much to do with what we say. It has so much more to do with how integrated we are in terms of the things we've been through in the past and how they've affected us. Excuse me. I got a little something stuck in my throat as I'm walking out in my beautiful nature preserve. This beautiful nature preserve that is by my home. I walk in it every day. Walk or jog. I just love it out here. It's a wonderful space to just be mindful and appreciate nature and come into a place of groundedness and peace, as well as moving my body and getting some exercise. And I think a little gnat flew in my throat while I was walking out here today. Unfortunate while I'm trying to do the video. But coming back full circle into this idea that our growth is vital for our ability to be the most dominant, gentle protector in the room with our clients, so that even if they come in with strong fear-based or predatory brains, we can still hold space with them, love them, so to speak, care for them, and confront them simultaneously so that growth can happen. And that's what it's all about. It's all about their growth. And if I don't grow, they can't grow. And so it's hugely important for us as therapists not to become stagnant in our own growth, but to really allow ourselves to go through processes that mold us, that transition us into higher capacities, higher maturity, higher level of conscious awareness and understanding. And it's not just about intelligence, right? Not just about book smarts, scholarly intelligence. It really has so much to do with emotional intelligence, with facing the things that we don't want to face, the things that we've avoided, our traumas, our pains, our relational struggles, not justifying them or, excusing them or blaming others, but truly looking at ourselves, truly doing the work that it takes to grow to the next level so that we can be all that we can be. So subscribe to this channel. We're going to be talking lots more about all of this, and I look forward to talking to you very soon.